Next question is from Lisa. Lisa says, hey guys, do you think relationships can survive infidelity? All right, I have two answers to this, Lewis. The one is a very just logistical and like technical answer. Can relationships continue after there has been infidelity? The answer is obviously yes, they can. It happens all the time that infidelity happens. And as I answer the question, I understand it to mean when the infidelity is discovered, right? Of course, they can survive if one person doesn't know there has been infidelity, but we're assuming the infidelity has been revealed and all parties involved know about it. Of course, relationships can survive infidelity. The more relevant question is, can there really be true trust in the relationship? And can the relationship be unaffected by the infidelity? And I think that that's a much more difficult question. I think in certain cases, if everybody is sort of understanding of the specific circumstances that led to the infidelity and how it's been addressed and why specifically it's not going to happen again, yes, of course, the relationship can survive and it can maybe thrive. More likely is that the relationship can survive, but that it is altered in a way that cannot be repaired. And I think that that is a more typical scenario. Well, what do you think?
Certainly it can survive and it can, like you said, thrive. I've seen it happen. And, sometimes the relationship can come back even stronger after everything has been resolved and both parties are, of a clear conscience and all of that. So, but of course, once it happens, I think it's pretty much impossible to get it out of your mind. It will always be there, but every relationship is different. And I think in most cases, it will be a wound that never heals. And I've certainly seen that plenty of times as well.
I've talked to people who are in relationships where there has not been infidelity that either party has admitted to. And I've talked to some people who say, if I found out that my significant other had cheated, that's the end of the relationship. And I recognize that I'm very invested in this relationship and I love the person and I have every intention of being with them indefinitely. But that is something that I just know if it happened, I would not be able to stay in the relationship. There's other people I've spoken to who say, listen, I'm not giving a license to go and cheat, but I'm very self-aware of the fact that if there were cheating, I would still try to salvage the relationship because it's that important to me. And I think it's interesting that a lot of the times the individual's preconceived notion about what they would do does not always match up with how they actually react when it does happen.
Yes, if it hasn't happened to you before and you've never been put in that position and had to deal with those emotions, perhaps you would react differently. But it's so every situation is different, and and you feel differently about different people you're in relationships with. So
do you have a rule along those lines, Lewis, where you say, listen, I don't care what the situation is, if I'm cheated on, I'm out, that's it?
I think that is how I think, but I admit that perhaps there would be situations in which that wasn't the case and where I would try to salvage things, and it's all, every situation's different. There are just infinite possibilities out there.
I mean, kids are often a factor, right? If you, Lewis, as you've talked about, if you accidentally had a kid and it turned out great, you love the kid, right? It turned out that way, fortunately for everybody involved. And then there was infidelity. You might consider taking a different course of action because of the detrimental effect that it might have on the child, right?
Well, that's a great example. And here's something else that we talk about all the time: politicians. When you are a politician, a president, a senator, whatever, and these infidelities happen, I think in a lot of cases, it's clear that the spouse is aware of it. But because you are in this public position and because your job and maybe your spouse's job may depend on it, or, an upcoming election, whatever, you stay together.
But don't you think sometimes those are sort of arrangements where it's not even that they're saying, well, I'm going to stay together in spite of this. It's just like, listen, we have this marriage for particular reasons and we're both kind of doing our own thing.
Yes, but I mean, you still go everywhere with this person. You still live with this person.
Yeah.
You are still physically staying together, So I think that's kind of a similar situation. So, yeah, there's another example.